Hello everyone. Welcome to my session. This is our first lesson for 2024. Let me start by saying compliment of the new season. The grade 12s, welcome to this session. I hope we are going to enjoy. This is Mr. K. You can call me Mr. K. And then we are now going to deal with solve for X, which is mostly question 1 of the grade 12's examination question papers. So if you go throughout the question papers, especially grade 12 previous question papers, you will notice that question 1 is mostly or is always solve for X. In a nutshell, we are going to focus on algebraic equations and help those that are having problems with solve for X. Solve for X in most cases, or question 1 in most cases, has got a lot of bugs. It contains between 20 to 25 marks, so which approximately will give you a good start for answering questions or answering a question paper, especially paper 1. Now, if you score most of the marks on question 1, then you are likely to pass, or you are closer to a pass. So here I've got a question. I've got question number 1. Our question 1, it's from Eastern Cape, November 2022 question paper. Let me use a black ink. It's Eastern Cape, November 2022. You can just go through this, you can just download this question paper and then check the questions or be able to solve the questions on your own. But now we are now on solve for X. So the first one that we have, it says that we have x squared plus 5x minus 6 all equal to 0. Now, when you come across this question, it mostly ranges 3 marks. When you come across these questions, the first thing, we are people and we are different and we solve problems differently. You are not subjective to my methods, but please go along with the methods that you understand best. So I always tell my learners that if you're on question 1 and you have a question of this nature and it becomes a problem to you, use what you call the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula, we find it on our formula sheet. And it's given as x is equals to minus b plus minus root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. That is the first thing. You can use a quadratic formula or you can simply factorize. This is another way of factorizing, but you can factorize this as a trinomial. Now, if you factorize using a quadratic formula, it means that the coefficient of x values or the coefficient of x squared in this case is 1. And it means that the value of a is going to be 1, the value of b is going to be 5, the value of c is going to be negative 6. So where do we find A, B, C? We have got A, B, C. Remember that a quadratic formula comes from or is derived from f of x is equals to ax squared plus bx plus c. So this is a coefficient of x squared, which is a, coefficient of x is b, and then our constant value is c. So it follows the very same pattern. The coefficient of x squared is a, which in this case a is equals to 1. The coefficient of b, the coefficient of x is b. Here the coefficient of x is 5, which is positive, and our constant number is -6. Therefore, our value for c is -6. So from there, it means that you can simply say x is equals to minus, then according to the formula, -b. But here we have got +5. The negative is outside, but now we put +5 plus minus. Then we have 5 squared, which is b squared, minus 4 into our value for a is 1, then you are going to put 1 there. And our coefficient, which is c, is -6. It means that we put -6 there. And everything must be divided by 2 into the coefficient of x squared, which is 1. Now, when it's like this, it means that when you press this on a calculator, you are going to find that the value for x is going to be 6, or x is going to be -1. Sorry, it's -6 and 1, because if I do it factorization, it means I'm going to have x and x, 1 and 6. So in this case, it's going to be -1 plus 6 equals to 0, because -1 plus 6, it must give us +5. Therefore, it means that I'm going to have -6 there and a +1 there. So these are the values of x that you needed to find. But here you only used a quadratic formula in order for you to arrive to the question. Now, if you check on this one, I have found that the value of x is equals to 1, or x is equals to -6. This is factorization. Now, how do we factorize in this manner? It means that I'm going to check x squared plus 5x minus 6 equal to 0. So just to cater for everyone that is doing maths, the ones that do not want to use the quadratic formula. In this case, we are going to open 2 brackets. Why 2 brackets? Because the x squared here, it says that you must have 2 solutions. So we need 2 solutions. So in the first bracket, we are going to put x, and in the second bracket, we are going to put x, because x multiplied by x is x squared. So this x squared means that you need 2 solutions. So now, what are the factors of 6 that we can add together to get to +5? Now, 6 has got 1 by 6, 2 by 3, and then 3 by 2, and then 6 by 1. Now, we are going to put all the signs that we have as positive. So now we put +1 multiplied by +6. So +1 multiplied by +6, it's 6. but plus 1 plus 6 is going to be 7. So plus 2 plus 3 is plus 5. Then plus 3 plus 2 is also plus 5. Plus 6 plus 1 is going to be plus 5. Now, in this case, we are only, let's change one value here from positive to negative. We have positive this side. Now let's change the other ones. This one to negative. Plus 1 minus. So we are just putting this side as negative. Plus 1 minus 6. The answer is going to be positive 5. So, sorry, negative 5, because it's the same as 1 minus 6 is minus 5. Then plus 2 minus 3 is minus 1. Plus 3 minus 2 is positive 1. Plus 6 minus 1 is going to be positive 5. So here we are going to check what is our middle term. Our middle term is positive 5. So now we are going to check which values did we change so that we get positive 5. We took plus 6 and negative 1. So in this case, you're going to put negative 1 here, and you're going to put positive 6 there. Because when we say positive 6 multiplied by negative 1, when we multiply, we get negative 6. And even here, when we multiply, we get negative 6. When we multiply there, we also get negative 6. And when we multiply here, we also get negative 6. So when we multiply, we get negative 6 throughout. But when we add, there is only one value that gets negative 6 and positive 5, which is positive 6 and negative 1. So meaning that our solution is going to be x is equals to 1 or x is equals to negative 6. So that will be our solution. Okay, now let's check on question 1.1.2. Question 1.1.2. 1.1.2. In most cases, 1.1.2, they will give you an instruction. Now, if you are given that 5x squared plus x plus 3 is equals to 0. And in brackets, they say correct to 2 decimals or decimal places. Correct to 2 decimals or decimal places. So once you see this instruction, you should always remember that your mind will never give you values in the form of decimals. Therefore, this question requires you by force to use x equals to minus b plus minus root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So in this case, they are forcing you to use this formula, this quadratic formula, on question 1.1.2. You use this by force because your mind can never give you values in decimals. But you must always correct the last value. The final answer must be corrected to 2 decimals. So now, in this case, we have the quadratic formula. What we can say here is that the coefficient of x squared is 5. The coefficient of x which is our B in this case, is 1, and the constant value is going to be 3. Now, if you check throughout the formula, you have B, A, C, or you have got A, B, C. So it means that our A is going to be substituted with 5, our B is going to be substituted with 1, our C is going to be substituted with positive 3. So in this case, you're going to have X is equals to minus bracket 1. Remember that this B, it does not form the same part as negative. So it means that the negative is outside. This negative is for the whole equation. This negative is outside B. So therefore it's negative, that you put brackets, then you put the value of B inside the bracket. Plus minus, then you have 1 squared minus 4 into 5. And then our C is 3. All divided by 2 into 5. So this means that we will have our X is equals, I don't have a calculator with me. Let me just check on a manual calculator. It says we'll get 3,41. And then if you use the positive side, the positive one, you get the answer, and the negative one, you also get the answer. But the answers must be 2. Remember this square, it says that we have got 2 solutions of X. Then the other one that you get when you press on your calculator is going to be negative 4,41. You don't put units because these are the values of X. So now that is your 1.1.2. Then you also have 1.1.3. On 1.1.3, in most cases, they will give you the inequality questions. Inequality questions. I'm not saying it's every time, but I'm saying in most cases. So, but let's check. This one which was given on the 2022 November at Eastern Cape, was 2x minus 1, close bracket, x plus 3. This must be greater or equal to negative 3. And the number of marks that are here are 5. And the previous one, this one, the marks were 3. So in most cases, when you come across this question and it's 3 marks, it means that it is your substitution, your first solution, and your second solution. But this one is 5 marks. It means that the amount of marks that you see says a lot about the amount of work that you're going to do. It's 5 marks. But because you're solving for X, take note that these 5 marks, it does not necessarily mean that the question is difficult. It's just that there are more steps as compared to the previous one. Now, they've given us everything inside the bracket, but it is not given as equal sign. We only have the inequality signs. Is greater, equal to negative 3. So what we need to do on this one, first thing, follow the BODMAS rule. Let's follow the BODMAS rule. It says that work out the brackets. So now let's go and work out the brackets. How do we work out the brackets? We work out the bracket by using what we call the FOIL method. So it is the first, outer, inner, last. The first in both brackets, the outer in both brackets, the inner, and the last. So when I was still at primary school, my maths teacher would say FOIL method is first, then it's first, outer, inner, then last. So he'll do something like this. So now let's check. It says FOIL. It means that we must multiply the numbers that appears first in the two brackets, which is 2x multiplied by x. We have got 2x squared. This is our first. Then our outer is 2x multiplied by positive 3. Then we get positive 6x. Then is negative 1 multiplied by x is negative x. Negative 1 multiplied by 3 is negative 3, greater equal to negative 3. Therefore, when we group the like terms, we have 2x squared. 6x minus x is going to be positive 5. The variable is x. Negative 3 plus 3, because we're now taking the constant value, we bring it this side. So far as we are grouping the like terms, then it becomes positive. Then the sign do not change. It still looks the same direction. Why is the sign not changing? We are only moving a number from negative to positive. We are only moving a number from negative to positive. Therefore, the sign do not change. Now, 2x squared plus 5x, negative 3 plus 3 is 0. Therefore, we have got negative greater or equal to 0, because in this case, 0 will not appear. Now, because we have something like this and we don't have a constant number, it means that we are now going to take out a common factor. We are now going to check the common factor. Like in most cases, I came across questions where you are only given something of this nature and they say solve for x. When you are given something of this, you just check how many terms are there. You have got 1, 2 terms, and these 2 terms, they all have the variable of x. Therefore, it means that x for both terms is constant. But if we look at this is x squared, this is x to the power of 1. So why do we say is a common factor? Because in a real essence, it means that we have got 2x, which now they are multiplying. So we are going to take out 1x from each term. So if we have plus 5, it means that if I take out 1x from this term and put it here, it means that I took out 1x. How many x's are left? I'm left with 2 and 1x. So if I took 1x from this and I take 1x from that, it means that I'm going to be left with x out. Therefore, I'm going to be left with 5, which now is going to be greater or equals to 0. Now, when we solve, we are going to check x is greater or equal to 0, because x is outside the bracket. Because x already is outside the bracket, we can simply say x is greater or equal to 0. This is our first solution. But if you check inside the bracket, we have 2x plus 5. This must also be greater or equal to 0. It means that this x is greater or equal to 0, and also this bracket is greater or equal to 0. Now, is there anything that we can do with x greater or equal to 0? And the answer is no. And therefore, it means that this is our first solution. Now, if we continue with this part, it means that this positive 5 must come to this side. And when it comes to the other side of the equal sign, it changes from positive to negative. If a value is going abroad the inequality sign and it changes from positive to negative, the sign will change. This sign will change. Therefore, we have 2x. Because it's going to be negative 5, it means now our sign must reverse. Now it's going to be less equals to negative 5. But we are looking for x, not 2x. Therefore, we divide both sides by 2. Therefore, it means that our x is going to be less or equals to negative 5 over 2. Our solution is going to be like that. Therefore, it means that we have our second solution. You will often come across situations or memorandums that will give you the solution in the form of a graph or a table. It only depends with you whether you understand the graph or you understand number line or what. Now let me take you through this one. If you are solving for this, and from here you could see that you have something of this nature. You have got now let's say you have got 2x squared plus 5x, and you decide that you're not going to use this sign, but you're going to use equal sign, then you put 0. It means that you are going to look for what you call the critical values. CVS, our curriculum vitae, is critical values. So it means that when you're looking for the critical values, you are allowed to use an equal sign. Change the sign that was given to equal sign. So, but in this case, you're going to have x into 2x plus 5 equal to 0. Now, here we can see that x is equal to 0. Therefore, it means the sign do not change. X is still greater or equal to 0. Someone can say, if I'm looking for the x values, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm looking for the values of x. Which value can I put here so that the answer is 0 or more? So, but if you check here, if you put, these are the x values. Which x value can I put here so that the answer is greater than 0? If you put negative 3, will the answer be greater than 0? The answer is no. If you put 0, will the answer be equal to 0 because you have got the equal sign? Yes. What number beside 0 can you put so that the answer is greater than 0? You can put 0, you can put 1, you can put 2, you can put 3. If you say 1 is greater than, if you say, sorry, let me not use, this statement is wrong. If you say you put 0, it means 0 is now equal to 0. But if you put 1, you can't say 1 is greater or equal, but 1 is greater than 0. 2 is also greater than 0. 3 is also greater than 0. It means that from 0 going to these numbers up till infinity, you will always find a number greater than 0. Therefore, how do we represent this on a number line? We're saying that from this same number, you see I'm putting it as a dot, a closed dot. It means that this closed dot means that there is an equal sign. It's included. It means that from here going to this direction, I will always get a number equal to 0, a number greater than 0, a number greater than 0, until you reach infinity. I hope. Now, that is not the only solution that we found. We found that x is greater or less than negative 5 over 2. Now, what does that mean? We are going to check what is negative 5 over 2. Negative 5 over 2 is negative 2.5 because it's half. So it means that now we are here. This is negative, we are here. This is negative 5 over 2, which is actually 2.5, but it's negative. Because they said greater or equal, now on these very values that we found, we are going to put our dot. Right. So if I put the value of x, remember we said if you put the value of x here as 0, you're going to get a value that is equal to 0, because 0 multiplied by a bracket is 0. But if you put 1 there, it means that you must also put 1 there. So it's 1 into 2 plus 5. It's not equal to 0, but now it's going to be greater than 0. So it means that you're just going to check the values that you get. Now, if I put negative 2.5, okay, I want to explain this clearly. If I want to put negative 2.5, I'm going to check. I had x into 2x plus 5, close bracket. And then I have put equal sign. Now, if I put an equal sign, it means that I'm looking for an answer. This side and this side must be equal. Which value can I put so that this side and this side are equal? I said it's 0. Because if I put 0 there and 0 here, 0 multiplied by any number is going to be 0. But is this the only value? Here it says is equal or greater. Which value greater than? Which value can I put here so that this side is more than this side? So if I put 1 here, brackets 2 into 1 plus 1 plus 5, will the answer be equal to 0? No, the answer must be greater than 0. So is 1 the only x value that I can utilize here so that it is greater than 0? No, you can check from here. It says you can put any value that is positive until positive infinity. The answers will always be greater than 0. Now, when we come to this side, if I'm going there, if I'm going to this direction, it means that I'm going to include 0 again in all these numbers. It's fine. But now, let's check. Which value can I put here so that my answer again is equal to 0? If you put negative 2.5, you are going to get an answer that is equal to 0. You can press that because remember this is 5. This one is 5 and it's negative. 2 multiplied by negative 2.5. This is positive, is negative 5. Negative 5 plus 5 is 0. 0 multiplied by this number, it means that 0 is equal to 0. It means that we have used the first sign, which is equal sign, but now we must check. Now, which direction am I going? Question is, am I going there or am I taking this side? So we will need to verify. Now, if I'm here, which value am I between? I'm between -3 and -2. So it means that because I know if I'm using -2.5, I'm going to get 0. If I use -3 or -2, will the answer be greater or less? Now let's check. Now, if I put -3, remember that the answer must be greater than 0. If I put -3, it means that I've got -3, open bracket, 6, which is negative, plus 5. Not because already I've used this. Will this answer be greater than 0 or less than 0? Remember, we said that from the first question, it says that the answer, if you are here or if you are on this one, it says that the answer must be equal or greater than 0. It means that we have used -2.5 to get 0 and 0, which is equal sign. So it means it's this part. So now what are we looking for? We are done with the equal sign, but now we want the greater. So we are looking for the greater sign. So will this be greater than 0? That is a question. Now, -3 into -6 plus 5, if you press on a calculator, you'll get -1. And the answer is 0. So therefore, it means that our answer is going to be 3. So is 3 greater than 0 or less than 0? 3 is greater than 0. Now we are going to check. Where is our -3? Our -3 is here. So if we are here, it means that we must go there. So that all the values going to this direction will give you the correct answer. Now let's use this to write our solution. The first one said we used 0. We said x must be 0. The second one says x must be -5/2. Remember that -5/2 and -2, 5 are the same numbers. So, but if I'm using 0, to which direction does my arrow face? My arrow is facing there. You see? But there was an equal sign. My arrow is facing there. So therefore it means that because I'm using 0, I'm going to take that direction. And then in this instant, if I'm using -5/2, which is -2, 5, I used a blind spot. It means that that blind spot is in place of the equal sign. But to find the answer, to which direction did I go? Did I use -3 to get 3 greater than 0, or did I use -2? I used -3. So if I'm here, where is the -3? The -3 is towards that direction. Therefore, it means that my arrow is facing that direction. Therefore, I'm going to use that direction. And that is how you write your solution. So meaning that whether you use this sketch, remember the grade 12s, this sketch does not have marks. It only helps you to find the answer correctly. If you understand this one, you also go with it. If you understand this, you also go along with it. So maths is not subjective. You come up with a method that you understand best and you use that method. Now let's go to another question. Another question, which is 1.1.4. It says root of x. I like this question. minus x minus 5. This is equals to 1. And this question is 4 marks. Now, if you come across a situation of this nature, you learned from grade 11 that when you have a root, you take the number, this root must be on one side and the numbers must grouped on the other side. But if we check here, we've got a root of x. A root of x in this case is a number. It is not the same as this because it does not fall in the same root as 1. So meaning that I'm going to take this part, I'm going to bring it this side. And I'm going to take -1 and bring it this side so that I don't have to deal with the negative signs. So meaning that I've got root of x minus 1 is equals to x minus 5. Now, once we have this, we say square both sides. You're going to square both sides, meaning that you will have x minus 1 all squared equals to x minus 5 all squared. Let me use this correctly. It should not appear as if. Okay, now I think it's better. Now, because of this square, remember that this square, it says that you have got two brackets of the same nature. It means that you have got root of x minus 1 and root of x minus 1. But in this case, -1 is not under the square root. It's equals, according to sets, which you did in grade 11, the square root of a number, the square root of a number is the same as the number. It means that if I've got root of a all squared, it means that my answer is only the number under the square root, which is a. So, but in this case, we are going to square root of x plus 5. So it means that my answer will only be the number under the square root, which is going to be x minus 5. Don't hustle. As long as these two numbers are under the same square root, when you square that whole square root, you only write the numbers that are under the square root, because this square will cancel that root. Now, let's multiply. Remember I said earlier on that when you have two brackets, you're going to use what you call the FOIL method. So now, we have square root multiplied by square root. Okay, we go back to the sets again. X multiplied by x. Root of x multiplied by root of x is the same as x. Because this is the same as x squared. Root of x multiplied by root of x is the same as root of x all squared, because there are two of them and they are multiplying. It means that this is 1, this is 1. So when you multiply powers of the same base, so it means this is a base, that is a base, you add the exponents. Now the exponents 1 plus 1 is 2. So, but because 2 and the root They must go out. It means that you're going to be left with x, which in this case, root of x multiplied by root of x is going to be x. Root of x multiplied by -1 is going to be negative root of x. -1 multiplied by root of x is still negative root of x. -1 multiplied by -1 is +1 equals to x minus 5. Now, we are going to group the like terms. We have x negative a minus a. What is the answer? -2a. Negative x minus x, the answer is -2x. Therefore, it means that negative root of a minus root of a, the answer will be -2 root of a. So it means that root of a in this case is a variable, but the coefficient is 1. So even here, it means that we're going to have -2 root of x plus 1 minus x plus 5 equal to 0. So we take all terms to this side. Now they change the signs. So if we add or if we group the like terms, it means that this one will eliminate that. And then we'll be left with -2 root of x plus 6 equal to 0. If you take this +6 to this side, it will become -2 root of x equals to -6. But when you divide both sides by -2, this by -2, you will notice that you have 2 and 2 will cancel out. You will be left with root of x. And then -6 divided by -2, the answer is 3. Now, you still have the square root here. To eliminate this square root, remember what we did here. What we did here to eliminate the square root. We're also going to apply the same mechanism here. It means that in this case, you're going to say root of x squared is equals to 3. But it must also be squared. Remember what you apply on the left, you must also apply on the right. But now, because we said root of x squared, the squared and the root will eliminate each other. What is left is the number under the square root, equals to what is 3 squared? 3 squared is 9. Therefore, it means that your solution will be equal to 9. Okay. That was question 1.1.4. Now, let's go and treat question 1.2. 1.2. In most cases, remember I'm not saying always. In most cases, if you go through the question papers, grade 12, you will notice that 1.2 in most cases is simultaneous equation. Simultaneous equations. So now we are going to solve simultaneous equations. You are given 2x minus y equals to 1 and y squared minus xy plus 7. And they say 6 marks. The previous activity, it was offering us 4 marks. This one is offering us 6 marks. So now when you are given like this, already you are given two equations. It means that this will be referred to your equation 1 and your equation number 2. Now we're going to check between equation 1 and equation 2, which one has got a variable that is not paired. Variable ya o sepela e le tee ye se nang nomoro gaufi or ye se nang variable ye nngwe gaufi. So we can see that ka equation number 1, we have coefficient and a variable. But in this case, we only have a variable and then we have a constant number. But if you check here, we've got variable, but this variable is squared. Therefore, we can't use this. In this instance, we have got two variables. So it will give us tough time to solve if we've got two variables that are next to each other. And then we have got a constant. So it means that between equation 1 and equation 2, the one that has got a variable that is alone is equation 1. It means that equation 1 is referred to as the simplest equation to solve. Therefore, it means that we are going to make this variable that is alone the subject of the formula. But if you check here, our variable, which is here, is negative. It means that this negative must be eliminated. It must become positive. How do we change this negative to positive? It means that we are going to move this negative y to come this side. Because that is the only way, the only simple way y can change from negative to positive. And when we do that, we take this one, each position y. At the end, we are going to have 2x. Because it was positive, now it's changing to negative. Negative 1 is equals. It moved from negative y, tell the equal sign, now is going to the side where it will become the positive. But because you are a maths learner, it means you will write it in a correct way, where it will be y is equals to 2x minus 1. And you will call this your Z equation. So this first instruction says, substitute equation number 3. You no longer have equation 1. I normally tell my learners that once you develop equation number 3, cancel equation 1. So that ayoto phazamisha, you're not going to equation 1 anymore. You're going to deal with equation 3 and equation 2. Substitute equation 3 into equation 2. It means that kara equation 2, where we see the variable of y, whether y or y squared or y cubed, as long as variable in y, we're going to put it as 2x minus 1. So it means that our first value will be 2x minus 1, but this y is squared, therefore it must be squared, minus. Our first letter that appears there is x, therefore we leave x, but the variable y is here, it must be changed. 2x minus 1. On this instant, we only have a constant number, therefore we can't change anything. It remains as 7. Now, did I make a mistake? Oh yes, I made a mistake somewhere. Sorry. Like point of correction. There's something that I left here. Point of correction is equals to x plus 7. It means that even here, we must put an equal sign. X plus 7. Yeah, now we are moving. So that is our equation 3. Equation 2, remember. Now, Because we have this, it means that now we are going to solve the brackets. So the bottommost rule. And then R level, I want to teach you how to work out this. 2x minus 1. We first start here, we go there. We come again, start here, we go there. We start here. 2x multiplied by 2x is 4x squared. 2x multiplied by negative 1 is negative 2x. We start again. Negative 1 multiplied by negative 1 is positive 1. Negative 1 multiplied by 2x, negative 2x. You are done. Then you come to this one, negative. Negative x multiplied by 2x, negative 2x squared. Negative x multiplied by negative 1, positive x, equals to x plus 7. I hope you understood what I did here. Is this, let me say, this multiplied by this. I get? Now again, you come again. Blue multiplied by 1. Then you come this side. It's yellow multiplied by yellow. Then you change. Orange multiplied by orange. Now I can't say orange multiplied by orange, but you can see the distance. Is this multiplied by this multiplied by that, this multiplied by this multiplied by that. So it will always give you simple way rather than writing two brackets. Now from there we're going to group the like terms. 4x squared minus 2x squared. The answer is 2x squared. Negative 2x is negative 4x plus x. This one we can just leave them because they are going to cancel. Let's write 4x. Then 1 and this is going to be negative 6 equal to 0. So if you are at this point, you can simply say divide each term by 2, which is the smallest coefficient. Then you're going to have x squared minus 2x minus 3 equal to 0. Remember what I did earlier on about the factors. I'm looking for the factors of 3, which is 1 and 3. And the other one is 3 and 1. When I multiply 1 multiplied by 3, I get 3. But what am I looking for? Am I looking for 3 or a negative 3? I'm looking for a negative 3. Okay. But mine is still positive. Even here, you get 3, which is still positive. But what is the middle term? The middle term is negative 2. So it means that positive multiplied by a positive, the answer will be positive, which is the same. Positive multiplied by a positive, the answer will be positive. Now let me change. If I change this side, in most cases, I start changing this side. If I say positive and a negative, what do you get? You get negative answer. It's when you multiply. But what happens when you add? what happens when you add? When you say plus 1 minus 3, a smaller number minus a bigger number. Plus 1 minus 3, you get negative 2. Then I'm changing here to negative. This one remains positive. If I say plus 3 minus 1, the answer that you get is positive 2. But if I say plus 3 multiplied by minus 1, the answer that you get is negative. So now let's relate. Let's relate. A positive 1 minus 3, you get negative 2. Do we have negative 2 somewhere here? Yes, we have got negative 2. A negative 1 multiplied by negative 3, we have negative 3. Do we have negative 3 here? Yes, we have negative 3. It means that the factors is positive 1 and negative 3. Therefore, we put them inside the bracket. X equal to 0. We said that the factors are positive 1 and negative 3. So meaning that our solution will be x is equals to negative 1 or x is equals to positive 3. Now we are not done. These are only the values of x. Now once you find this, you go back to your equation. Now you say substitute x into, remember that we substituted into equation 2. Now we are no longer going to work with equation 2, but we are now going to work with only equation number 3. So you substitute the value of x into equation 3. What is your equation 3? Y is equals to 2x minus 1. I'm not sure if I'm correct. 2x minus 1. Y equals to 2x minus 1. So it means that we are going to check which x are we going to substitute. If I substitute x equals to negative 1, it means that my y is going to be 2. The value of x is going to be negative 1 minus 1. When I take the calculator, I get the negative 3. It means that y is negative 3. Therefore, I must write this in the form of coordinates. The value of x that I substituted was negative 1. The value of y that I found here was negative 3. Now I come and do the second one. Same thing, y equals to 2x minus 1. But in this case, what am I substituting? We are substituting x equals to 3. X equals to 3. So it means that y is equals to 2, 3 minus 1. When I press this on a calculator, you get that your y is equals to 5. Write them in the form of coordinates. Which value did you use? You used 3, therefore you put 3. What is the value of y that you calculated? Is 5, then you put 5. And these are your solution. And this is where 6 marks comes from. So in this instance, it means that you will be in a position to answer question 1.1 and 1.2, which in this case so far, with only these 1.1 and 1.2 questions, you would have scored around 21 marks because it's 6, 4, 5, 3, 3. If you recall, the first two questions, 1.1.1 is 3 marks, 1.1.2, 3 marks, 1.1.3, 5 marks, 1.1.4, 4 marks, 1.2, 6 marks. Altogether, they make 21 marks. So it means that from the whole question paper grade 12, a question 1 fail, you have 21 marks so far. So which requires you to work a bit more in order for you to pass, because 21 out of 150 does not give you a pass. And remember, before you get a distinction, you need to pass. You need first to know how to pass. So it means that question 1 is one of the questions that will require you to answer for you to collect marks and for you to be able to pass. Okay, up to this point, we are done with our first activity, which is our lesson 1. Please go through the previous question papers, solve problems on question 1, solve for X. And in most cases, you'll find 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. 1.3 questions are different depending on the examiner. But throughout the years, you will notice that 1.1 and 1.2 is always solve for X by means of quadratic formula or factorization, inequalities, and then also sometimes they will give you the questionnaire like the square root. And 1.2 is your simultaneous equations. But 1.3, sometimes they give you the roots, sometimes they can give you a figure where you need to solve. It can change from wherever. It's about the roots, it's about the sketch, it's about finding the radius. It depends on the examiner or not. In that year over Nchije. But because I want us to grab what we are quite sure about, Retafita on 1.2, please check through the previous question papers and practice more. For this lesson, thank you for your time. Join me on the second session where we'll be dealing with more questions on question 1, solve for X. Thank you very much, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel, and let's keep this ball rolling. Still the first lesson, let's go throughout. Follow me and let's practice more. Thank you and keep well. Bye.